Luigi Mangione's defense fund has raised over $300,000 from more than 10,000 donors. And the man suspected of assassinating United Healthcare boss Brian Thompson has now released a thank you statement online. So he says, "I am overwhelmed by and grateful for everyone who has written to me to share their stories and express their support. Powerfully, this support has transcended political, racial, and even class divisions as mail has flooded MDC, I presume that's the prison he's in, from across the country and around the globe. While it is impossible for me to reply to most letters, please know that I read every one that I receive. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to write. I look forward to hearing more in the future." So he's getting so many letters, he can't possibly reply to all of them. The amount of support that Mangione is receiving also means the prosecution are worried about the makeup of the jury when he does go to trial.
Prosecutors may face an uphill task preventing secret supporters of Luigi Mangione from getting on the jury at his trial.
They're going to want to make sure that they don't have people on this jury who are particularly sympathetic to Luigi Mangione, who maybe won't even focus on the evidence as much as his plight.
ABC News chief legal analyst Dan Abrams says the Mangione case is not open and shut, despite the overwhelming evidence.
Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
A lot of people are supporting him.
He has enormous support. I haven't quite seen this kind of support for someone who isn't famous.
I mean, he's definitely famous now, right? This will be, of course, very shocking to the American establishment. A young man who was filmed, maybe I should say allegedly filmed, I don't know, but it was a film of someone who looked like him shooting a health insurance boss in broad daylight, is so popular, he might not be found guilty in court. Right? That's what that sort of analyst was suggesting. The buzz around Mangione also doesn't appear like it will dissipate anytime soon.
A new investigation Discovery Channel documentary, Who is Luigi Mangione? Pieces together Mangione's decline from high school valedictorian to accused assassin. Abrams is executive producer and says Mangione and his alleged victim actually had a lot in common.
They were both very smart.
Yeah.
They were both overachievers. They were both valedictorians. They were both the people who folks in their community thought were going to be stars, and their lives intersected in a way that no one would have imagined.
I mean, there's a lot to say here about, the US health insurance system and how, people have been harmed by it, and that's sort of why there's so much sympathy for this. But I mean, the first thing that I thought of actually with all of this is like in the UK. So when it comes to sort of like a criminal case in the UK, as soon as someone is charged, you are not allowed to. I mean, you are allowed to utter their name, but you're not allowed to do much more than utter their name. You say anything that could possibly influence anyone to see if they were, or to suggest if they were guilty or innocent, blah, 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 blah. You can be in contempt of court, one of the sort of the most serious things that a journalist could do wrong, because you can end up in prison. In America, you've got like an active case, and you can have this really, I mean, was he at NBC or ABC? I don't know, this sort of powerful analyst, like producing this documentary where they say their lives intersected in a way which no one had imagined. How could anyone have imagined it? It's like they're both very high achievers. One of them a boss. One of them shot in the back of the head. One of them angry at US healthcare. It's very Netflix already, isn't it, Ash?
It absolutely is Netflix. I mean, it's one thing which makes me grateful for the UK's reporting restrictions, because there is no way a media organisation would be able to make that kind of documentary ahead of trial, because it could be considered prejudicial. And I think that that's right. I mean, of course, there are some reporting restrictions in the United States. You have to supply all of your allegedlys, and of course, they deny all accusations and rare. But like the entire system around the reporting of court trials is so much more sensationalist and treats it as a form of reality television, which I think is just deeply, deeply unhealthy. I did want to talk about the particular way in which jury selection plays out in the United States, because it is different from the system that we've got here in the UK. So in the US, the defense and the prosecution can move to strike people from the juror pool and to exclude them based on things where they say, okay, but you're going to be biased. And in the case of, Luigi Mangione, it might be the case that the prosecution says, okay, well, have you had an experience which is negative with health insurance? Were you denied coverage? Were you overcharged? Were you excluded from coverage because of a pre-existing condition? Well, we can't trust you to be non-biased or non-prejudiced in this case. That's going to include an awful lot of people. I mean, part of the reason why the Luigi Mangione case has captured people's attention so much and I think tapped into a latent sense of, well, I don't condone murder, but is because of just how universally terrible the experience of healthcare insurance is for people. Like the quality of care you get once you've got the healthcare insurance, good. Everything leading up to that, the amount of admin, all the pretexts people use to kick you off of your health insurance, absolutely awful. As far as I know, when it comes to restricting the grounds on which you can exclude a juror, the only thing I know in the US case, and maybe one of our very intelligent audience members can correct me, is that you are prevented from committing what's called a Batson violation. So it was ruled by the Supreme Court that you cannot exclude jurors on the basis of race. As you can imagine, Batson violations still occur, but are coded, shall we say? Have you had a negative experience of police, that kind of thing. I don't think that excluding people on the basis of having a negative experience of healthcare insurers would count as a violation of due process.
Obviously, my mind's always in the gutter, so I'm just imagining the defense lawyer or the prosecution, wouldn't it be, saying like, I want to exclude juror 4 because I have here a screenshot of them replying hubba hubba to the first picture released of Luigi Mangione. Juror number 6 always dates men with bushy eyebrows. Something's going on there. This person cannot be a fair juror in this case.
This is why they didn't want you in the jury for the Daniel Khalif case, Michael.
I know. I would have had to have recused myself, I suppose.